Talking about YouTube. Welcome to the twice weekly misadventure hosted by yours truly, Steve Beck, and presented by SlasherU, the college sports division of Slasher Sports. Thanks to Black Market Dub and Tanks Arcade for the use of their track Flux to get you into a talking mood this Friday. What we try to do with this particular show is to dig a little deeper into the stories that make you a college sports fan. You know, some are lighthearted, some are historical. This episode might make you more hysterical. The NCAA men's college basketball season has already produced two rather unsettling coaching changes before the season kicked off this past Monday. John Gallagher resigned as the head coach of the University of Hartford the day before the season at 2 o'clock. Before the first game. And then a few weeks before that, Manhattan fired coach Steve Masiello without warning over alleged, and it's not really alleged, I think it's common knowledge, certainly within the Manhattan press corps and in the Metro Atlantic Conference, but we'll say for now, alleged contract negotiation failures. Now, the impact on the floor, it's going to be significant. And as we get into some of the details, you'll understand maybe a little bit more why. But it's not nearly as impactful as the unsettling environment created for these two teams, and the players and the staff, certainly the fans, the conference opponents. There's a lot going on when situations like this happen. No one likes to see a coach get fired. Even if you really hate a coach, in season, you don't want to see that coach fired. Certainly at the NCAA FBS level, we've seen multiple coaches of us shown the door, but it certainly wasn't, minutes before a kickoff or during spring drills. These were into the season. Teams were underperforming. Coaches were already on the hot seat. So, they lost their jobs. This situation, in essence, within 2 weeks, losing two Division I successful coaches at both institutions. Both of them had been at their schools for more than 10 years. And both of them, their players loved playing for them. So you have to ask yourself, why? What's going on here? And hopefully, for those of you that are not Manhattan or University of Hartford fans, or not Metro Atlantic Conference or not America East Conference fans, you can have a secret second team to root for this year, because it's really upsetting. It's really disturbing what happened here. And it's disturbing because of the emotional and negative impact on the players themselves. I think both teams are going to suffer as far as regular season performance goes. It's perhaps more impactful with the Manhattan situation than at Hartford. But still, it's for the players to have that happen. Literally, just as it would sort of like be, okay, it's Christmas Eve, and then suddenly somebody tells you, oh, you know what? No Christmas. You have to tell the little kids, oh, Santa's not coming. You have to cancel the dinner plans. You've got family coming over. Nah, we're not having Christmas. I'm mad. I'm mad at the prices I had to pay for the gifts. So I'm canceling. I'm taking the gifts back. It's very unsettling. So since the firing in Manhattan happened first, let's talk about that one first. it's, like I said, it's never a good time to fire a coach. But in the case of Masiello, the timing and the implied reasons, they suck. I mean, I was trying to think of a nicer way to say it. It sucks. Masiello was there for 11 years. He had some success early. They sort of had to kind of retooled the program. The transfer portal kind of hurt them when it first became a major player at Division I basketball. But he built a roster slow and steady. They were 15-15 last year. And for those of you not familiar with the Metro Atlantic Conference, it is primarily New York, New Jersey, Connecticut-based schools. There has been some in and out of the conference. But the biggest exclamation point on the Metro Atlantic Conference is the St. Peter's Peacocks. Manhattan's probably longest and most traditional rivalry, going back to the ECAC days before it became the Metro Atlantic Conference. For me personally, having grown up watching Metro Atlantic, or was then ECAC basketball, to have a program like Manhattan build itself back up, it's kind of exciting. I'm not a Manhattan fan. I'm a St. Peter's fan. And not just because of last year. It goes back to my childhood. But they not only got back to 500 last year, they had the MAC Player of the Year in Jose Perez. And many analysts thought the Jaspers could seriously challenge Iona and Rick Pitino for the conference title in 2022-23. I certainly did. I think Iona is the best team in that conference, but Manhattan, before all of this happened and having Perez there kind of leading the charge, they had a good chance. Certainly in the tournament, I think Manhattan would have caused problems for anybody in the Metro Atlantic tournament. But within hours of Masiello's being fired, Perez, the superstar, the guy that the team really was built around, announced that he'd be entering the transfer portal. And he's already enrolled at West Virginia. So, so Huggins is like drooling at this point to get a talent like this, basically dropped at his doorstep. Now, it'll be interesting to see if NCAA will allow the transfer waiver and let Perez play, let's say, after the first of the year at the beginning of the conference play. But Perez and the media, the beat writers that cover the Jaspers and the Metro Atlantic Conference, have all been saying and all been reporting that at least 6 or 7 players are going to follow Perez and enter the portal. Now, there's still, after this weekend, there'll be 2 games left for them to do that. But that's more than 50% of the roster. And just the loss of Perez compromises the quality of what Manhattan will be putting out in the court. But if you're losing more than half your rosters, even with walk-ons, and Manhattan, being a New York City-based school, there are going to be players that perhaps were not recruited or given or on scholarship or given partial scholarship that potentially could then be used, to fill in these gaps. But from a competitive standpoint, what does the Metro Atlantic Conference do? What does the NCAA do? If you have more than half of a team enter the transfer portal, the NCAA is not going to be worried about getting all of these players, approved to play for other schools. And it's certainly a situation that I would think would merit the waivers because, nobody asked for that coach to be fired that quickly or that soon. But it's not just, the players that are upset. These players loved playing for Steve Masiello. They praised his honesty and his sincere interest in their futures, how he wanted to coach them in life, not just on the court. But Dick Vitale did not mince words about the Masiello firing on his Twitter account. He said, and I quote, "Firing Steve Masiello of Manhattan over contract issues about the future is shocking and wacky." Shocking and wacky. They had a chance for a strong year. Now his superstar is entering the transfer portal. Then in an interview on ESPNU, Dickie V basically endorsed the decision of any and all players to enter the transfer portal and questioned whether Manhattan should play out their season if that many players go into the transfer portal. Now, I don't think he was as serious about that. But still, I mean, the Metro Atlantic and the NCAA is in a tough situation here. Now, the Hartford situation is troubling on a whole different level. John Gallagher had been there, quite a while. He resigned the day before the season was to begin, and he cited numerous institutional failures and contract violations in his letter of resignation, which he submitted after one last meeting with his players. And his players, while upset, understood why he was doing this. Now, amongst the most serious allegations were the university did not send a certified athletic trainer to an away preseason scrimmage at Dartmouth. And there was a resulting injury during that game, and that player did not get the timely care that he needed. And he also accused the school of not providing resources for athletes' meals during road trips, certainly on this road trip. Now, the university is saying, well, there's a credit card available, but I mean, the players didn't have it. But really the elephant in the room, or the hawk hovering, if you will, because it is the Hartford Hawks, was the abrupt decision by the university to drop to Division III next season. And that occurred before this season. And this is despite them winning the America East tournament last year and making the NCAA tournament. They lost to Baylor. And the year before, they were poised to play in the conference championship game again, and that was canceled due to COVID-19. Now, Gallagher has been very upfront, and he always keeps saying, and that's the truth, and that's the truth. He has told the press that he received assurances from the administration before the 2021 season, and before the decision was announced that they were going to drop, not being demoted because it's not because of bad play. It's because the university's trying to save money. But he was told it would absolutely not happen. And he asked for their assurances because he had a chance at a lucrative offer to be an assistant coach, and I believe it was Oklahoma State. But the quote that struck me most deeply, and I think is the saddest, is this. Gallagher said, "At the end of the day, it's better for the student-athlete experience if I stepped away." That's shocking. That's heartbreaking. They will be treated much better now than if I was there. That was the deciding factor. There was mistrust between the administration and the athletic directors, both at Manhattan and certainly here at Hartford. Gallagher had already sued the university over basically the lie that he was told about them going from Division I down, not just to Division II, to Division III. Now, some of that is based, obviously, on enrollments, but not necessarily. This is really a cost-cutting measure. And if there's any thread of truth to what Gallagher has been alleging and has been saying, the school trying to save money by not sending an athletic trainer. I mean, is the travel cost and the stay at the Motel 6 or wherever they were staying? And because it was at Dartmouth, it was probably a same-day trip up and back. Is it that earth-shattering? Were they really trying to make Gallagher's life miserable and trying to punish him for suing the university? And for him fighting so hard and making so public, the fact that the players and he were against Hartford changing divisions? They will be treated much better now than if I was there. That was the deciding factor. That is just shocking. And that is just heartbreaking. And there was another issue that happened we're going to talk about here in our next segment involving a coach. And it wasn't the coach's fault, but the coach is paying the price for mishandling and mismanagement at the NCAA level. But certainly our best at Slasher U to both the Manhattan Jaspers and the University of Hartford Hawks basketball teams. I can't imagine, the confusion and the hurt and the anger you're going through now. But no, at least here, at SlasherU, you've got two fans here for the 22-23 season in Christian Brow and Steve Fek. Now, we're going to introduce a new segment here, and the show is called, What You Talking About? So we figured, well, let's kind of feature things that you were talking about as far as SlasherU segments, not just on this show, but in general. And the first comment was by B. Harris, and he commented on the SlasherU clip discussing the abrupt 3-game suspension of Miami women's coach Debbie Myers on Monday night. And his comment said, enforcement violations, that sounds like NIL, or image and likeness, if you will, misunderstanding. And Christian Brown and I, during the segment, came to the same conclusion. Honestly, I think this is the NCAA looking for scapegoats here, because down deep, they didn't really want to have the image and likeness revenues available to students. They thought it would get out of control. Not that multimillionaire boosters paying money under the table and giving fake jobs or whatever it is, that's not a problem. No. But having a student athlete get some money, earn some money for the use of their image and likeness, being able to do sponsorships for local companies, national companies, whatever. Oh my God, we can't do that. And the guidelines really they're pretty loosey-goosey. There are some loopholes there. Now, in the case here at the University of Miami, first of all, the integrity and the reputation of Debbie Myers is impeccable. And on the ACC opening night women's college basketball broadcast, they addressed that. Both the analysts were talking about how intimately they know Debbie Myers, and the thought that she orchestrated anything illegal is just beyond comprehension. The coach is going to have to, in the university, and again, by extension, another situation where the players are paying for something that they have absolutely no control over. And I have a feeling this is going to happen a lot over the next year or two until they start to really close those loopholes and come together with a more universal, flexible landscape for these student athletes and for universities to navigate. But we certainly appreciated B. Harris's comment. And the next one, admittedly, it's a little bit self-serving. It's from Sue B. Tucker of North Tonawanda, New York. And she left this comment about Wednesday's show highlighting the NCAA cross-country championships. Sue B. said, I need to listen before bedtime so Fek can bring sweet dreams with his storytelling. Love that it is not always about scores for SlasherU. And that is very true. That's why we have this little 15, 20-minute exercise twice a week. And even, when we're doing our season previews and we're talking about the games ahead, we're not necessarily bogged down in scores. And we share statistics, but that's not everything. And here, on What You're Talking About, we want you talking about the stories that we share here and there. I'm really looking forward to any comments that might be made on this particular show. We'll be back with you next Wednesday. So it's Wednesdays and Fridays that What You Talking About is put up on our SlasherU YouTube channel. As always, I really appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time. Make sure when you're at our YouTube channel, you give us a like and a subscribe. And your comments. It is what you talking about, not what I'm talking about. It's what you talking about. And we want to be able to talk about that on our future episodes. See you Wednesday.